too welcome. Have you ever seen this hanging beside the door like it's somebody's house as welcome? Never seen that. Never seen a welcome mat? Yes, I've seen a welcome mat. You can. I should have bought one.
You could have one.
I asked everybody in the church for a welcome mat, but there's all, they didn't have one. They were like me. I didn't have one either. But Miss Anna, she brought me these. And what does the word welcome mean? What's it mean? Welcome to my home. And what do you think that makes people feel happy? It does. When somebody says welcome to my home, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you're wanted. Like it's okay for me to come inside your home. And when we welcome people in our home, should we pick and choose who's allowed in our home? Well, I guess to a point. Let's rephrase that. Say if you saw someone that had on different types of clothes from you, maybe they weren't as clean, or maybe their skin was a different color. Should we not welcome them into our home and be nice to them? I think we should. I think that for the most part, that's what Jesus wants us to do, to welcome people into our church, to love them, to make them feel comfortable. When a new person comes to our church, should we just talk about them behind our back? No. What should we do? And make them feel welcome. That's very, very true. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. In the Bible, that's what Jesus says, he who receives you receives me. And in Matthew 10, he talks about this. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives the one who sent me. And anyone who receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And anyone who receives a righteous man because he is righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. So what's Jesus trying to tell us here? He's trying to tell us to make everyone feel welcome. So the next time you see a welcome mat or you see a welcome sign hanging up somewhere, think about that. What does Jesus want me to do when someone comes to my church, a new person comes in, or someone comes to my home? I should make them feel welcome. Yes. Okay. Anybody want to say a prayer today? You say a prayer? Heavenly Father, help us to remember, always make people feel welcome, because that's what the Bible tells us to do. Amen.
Again, 4th of July weekend, we need to talk about generals and soldiers and war, don't we? Oh my goodness. Generals, you ever notice that generals are never known until there is a war? George Washington, Robert E. Lee, Grant. These are some of the greatest and highest renowned men at West Point, except for Washington before West Point. And they were never known until war. How many of y'all knew the name Schwarzkopf before the Gulf War? You just don't know it. And oddly enough, soldiers don't know their generals until wartime. Not too much unlike Christians who don't know God until the times go bad. And then we seek God, and we seek His help. Either that or we blame God. And we sometimes curse God because we just don't think we can handle the situation. But it's funny how Jesus said that this is not my world. If it was my world, then my soldiers would fight in it. And the Bible tells us that we don't fight against flesh and blood. And that's what Jesus was talking about. That's why I know that I'll never have to worry about a vampire, the Frankenstein, or the zombie coming in my room at night. Because that's flesh and blood. And all I have to worry about, and it's too much to worry about sometimes it seems like, is Satan and his devices. But when y'all are in trouble, and you're troubled by something, and you're going through a trial, a test, whatever it may be, temptation, how many of y'all remember that you're soldiers? How many of y'all remember that you're soldiers in the army of God and you're expected to fight? that you are expected to go to war, and that you should train for that war, and that you should be prepared. And how do we become prepared? How often, when you've been in trouble, did you pray to God for deliverance instead of searching for that armor of God? A lot of times we don't even think about it, do we? How many of y'all, raise your hand, don't be scared, how many of y'all actually, when you were in the numerous times you've been in trouble, let's say in the last year, had a concern, whether it was for somebody who had cancer, or whether it was a scary thought about something financial, or how many of y'all resorted back to saying, ooh, I forgot about my armor. It's time I put on my armor. Amen. You know, one of the things, and there's a lot of different righteousness and faith and all these different things of armor, but you know, truth. I find that truth is one of the best for me. Because most of the time, Satan will come up to me, and like a lawnmower, he'll pull my string, and then he can leave. I'll sit there and run all day till I run out of gas, worrying about things. But the truth is, I don't need to worry about these things. If you take that part of the armor and put it toward your situation, you got to ask yourself, am I in the right place doing the right thing, or am I in the wrong place of mine doing the wrong thing? And when you look to the truth, you'll find peace. You know, it's important for us to understand what truth is, because when you have somebody who counterfeits something, like Satan does with God's Word, death will follow. I don't know if y'all ever noticed that. Jim Jones, the solar people, and I'll go ahead and call them a cult, Jehovah's Witness. Just because they got the name Jehovah in there doesn't mean that they believe in Christ. What people don't understand is that when you counterfeit religion, death will follow. And I'm not going to get too heavy into that, because I want to talk about a little bit about generals. Sort of how generals have so much in common with God, and we have so much in common with soldiers. I'll never forget, in the military, I respect every soldier that ever serves. Even some that I just didn't like, couldn't stand to be around because their personalities didn't clash. But I respect somebody that's willing to put themselves out there for my freedom. But in peacetime, we're grumpy. We don't like to hurry up and wait. And we like to blame those above us for all the problems that we're having. A good general is known to his men in the wartime because they see his face. He wants to put himself out there and put himself under the same hardships as the soldiers, so he knows how far he would push the soldier. God did that, didn't he? God did that when he sent his son to die on Calvary's cross. God put himself in a position, as a general does as soldiers, to know what it's like to be thirsty, to be hungry. God knows you as an individual, and he knows because he went thirsty, and he went hungry, and he went without love, and he went and was backstabbed by people. He knows what you're capable of doing. He knows how far you're capable of going. And when you go farther than what normally you would capably do, you got a crown of righteousness for that time, that trial, that period. And it's going to be wonderful the more crowns you have to get back to Christ. But a good general will do that. But a better general won't push himself so far as to get himself in trouble where he's unable to lead. But he will suffer. Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Matthew 17:7. He put himself in our position. And I'm going to read to you one of the temptations of Christ in the desert. How many of y'all remember the temptations of Christ in the desert? And he saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God in vain. He didn't say, oh yeah? Well, I'm fixing to show you who I am. I'm going to fix to prove to you that I'm the Son of God. You just watch and see. Because I want you to keep in mind here, the desert is the world. Satan is the people in the world. And he can represent the people well in this passage because he's behind the sin that's within people, is he not? And Jesus is saying, this is who you are and who you should be. Too often, we allow the world to change our views and our ways and the way we are. Jesus knew what the commandment was. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Amen. Jesus said, I am here to show you who God is and to do his will. Is that not what he said? He didn't say, I'm here to boast of myself, to raise myself up, did he? He asked God to glorify him, and God said, I will glorify you and much more. Let me tell you something. When you put first the kingdom of heaven, he will add unto you all the riches, all that you desire. But is the riches more important than the giver? God said, this is my son. Jesus knew who he was. He didn't have to prove nothing to Satan, except one thing. I follow the word of God. And I bring that up because so often the world will compromise. And they will act, y'all ever remember the world compromises so much? I mean, my goodness, it seems like common sense just left the world. You got a group of people that will bomb a city with airplanes and kill thousands of people, and then we say, well, here, use this place and build a mosque so that you can glorify what you've done here. Counterfeit religion. If it's not by Christ and through Christ, it's not from God. I don't hate a Muslim. I don't wish their death. You know, God said, and if you read back in Abraham, when he had his two sons, he said, I'll make a great nation of you. Did you ever notice how the wealthiest people and the most well-off people in the world is in the center of the Islam nation? You ever notice that? They're going to receive the riches here. But unless they convert and go to Christ, they're not going to receive the riches of heaven. So, you have the world saying things. And you know what, I'm going to get personal. And you might not like me for this, but I'm just going to tell you the way it is. I believe that abortion is a sin. I believe it's murder. I don't care what trimester you're in. If we know she's pregnant, it's murder. Now the world will say, well, what if it's rape? Well, I'm sorry, it's still murder. Well, what if it's a family member? Well, it's still murder. You know, I can't tell you, and I can't be just so great and eloquent with my words and my wisdom and knowledge to make it right. Because God told me not to lean on my own understanding, but to trust in him. And you know what I trust? I trust that no matter how she got pregnant, that if that child, and that woman especially, is in that place and it's of innocency, God will take care of the situation. And with faith and trust, and with the church that's willing to carry them to God, as the crowd did the blind man to Jesus, God will take care of it. Too often the church gets lazy. But I'm going to tell you that abortion is murder. It's a sin under any circumstance. It can't be condoned. And like Jesus in the desert, I'll not change. Because if I want to change myself, I got to change the Word of God, and I can't do that. We got to get to the point where we're not willing to change ourselves because we know we can't change the Word of God. We can't compromise with the world. You know, a lot of times the soldiers, when we were in training, we didn't pay much attention to our weaponry. We didn't clean it the way we should. And when we got to a point where we needed it, we needed the knowledge and the clean weapon, we didn't have it, we got scared. We got to understand that we need to be in the Bible every day. And we need to trust in that. You know the reason why you go through the gas chamber when you're in the military? Because there's always at least one guy that says, is this really necessary? And the drill sergeant comes out and says, yes, it's necessary. Because if you know it works here, you'll know it will work out there. It's not deadly here, but it will be there. And we want you to know that you can count on it when it can kill you. You've got to know in your peacetime, reading your Bible when you don't have financial problems and problems in your life and death surrounding you, that what you learn there, you can trust in them times. Why do I always do that? Why do I always just read through all my pages before you know what, I can't keep up with them. You know, a lot of times we want God to loosen up a little bit. We want God to, you know, be a little bit more like the world and understand a little bit more about what's going on in the world so that we can fit in better. You know, oftentimes we think to ourselves, why can't God be a little bit more like me instead of me having to be all like him? Well, I can give you a gamma list of things and reasons why we shouldn't be acting that way and thinking that way. But let me just pick one, forgiveness. If you were counting on God's forgiveness and he was like you, then you'd have to wait for forgiveness, because it would depend on how angry you made him or how hurt he was. Your forgiveness wouldn't be instantaneous. You'd have to think about how it made him feel. You'd have to sit there and ponder it. You'd also have to ponder whether you were worth it or not. See, because even though you as a person is worth forgiveness, you lost a lot of your worth with the sin that you committed. Amen? We know people, even family, friends, they're great people, we love them, and they do us wrong, and all of a sudden they've dropped a few notches in our worth book. And we don't want to talk to them for a while. We want to blame them, talk bad about them behind their back. Is this the way you want God to be? I know I don't want God to be like me. It wouldn't be complete forgiveness either. It would only be a partial forgiveness. Because I might not be happy with you the next time you do something. And I certainly ain't going to forget. Aren't you glad God forgets your sins? And His mercy reneweth every day so that you can get forgiveness and He doesn't hold anything against you? The easiest thing in the world, forgiveness. And we tend to think that it's the hardest thing to get and that God really won't do what He says He's going to do. How much do you deserve? Do you really deserve to be forgiven? That's what God would be thinking if He was like us. How often do we think, oh, you've done me wrong. I'm not going to forgive you for a while until I get over my anger, my hurt, and I really don't think you deserve to be forgiven. Maybe one day I will. Better off to suit our life. I can fit in better with the world, God, if you just loosened up on things. You know, how many of y'all know about the shrimp molt? Y'all know about that? About shrimp, how shrimp molt? It's like a snake shedding skin or putting on a new body. Well, when they're in that molting stage, they go to the bottom of the ocean, they find a piece of sand or a little rock, you know. I guess sand is like rock, isn't it? And they call it a status stone. And what they do is they put it on top of their head. They have a crack in their head. And they put it on top of that crab. And it gets sealed up in there. And what it does is it gives them buoyancy. And when they go through and they're crashed and spun by the waves, it gives them a sense of what's up and what's down. Okay? I can't explain it any better than that. But there was a scientist who I don't know if he was just doing it out of fun. This is something I did when I was a kid, and they call it science today. The guy's probably making $100,000 a year to do it. And he put a bunch of iron pellets in the bottom of this aquarium, and when these shrimp started molting, he put them in there. And sure enough, they went down there, and they grabbed a little iron pellet and put it down in there. Well, then he put a magnet on the aquarium. He turned it on, and all the shrimp started swimming upside down. Then he took one that had a real stone in his head and put it in there. So all these shrimp were swimming upside down, true story, except one. He was swimming right side up. You know, I couldn't help but think that all them shrimp were swimming upside down, just like the world. And they all looked at one another and said, what's wrong with this guy? We know what's right. And with the Word of God, we know whether or not we're going in the right direction and doing the right thing. You know, we got to stop blaming God for things. We got to start looking at God as someone who's impressionable. I could say, how many of y'all went to school, but how many teachers are in here? How many principals are in here? Yeah. You know, all the teachers I had and all the things I learned, I remember one phrase from my principal to this day. And that phrase is, grip the edge of my desk with both hands. I remember that more than anything else I guess I've ever been taught. We hate it when people wonder what's wrong with us. And it seems like we're just one shrimp watching all the other shrimp swim upside down. And do you ever notice that? Do you ever feel that way? It's like, what's wrong with the world today? Why do they not get it? And then after a while, that shrimp might have started thinking, do I have the wrong kind of stone? Am I really where I'm supposed to be? A lot of Christians do that. They start to compromise. Teach me thy way, O Lord, and lead me in a plain path because of mine enemies. A plain path. God is not the author of confusion. Just something that I can understand. Something the world can't change. And now Israel, and remember we are Israel. What doth the Lord thy God require of thee but to fear the Lord thy God and to walk in all his ways and to love him and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep his commandments and his statutes which I command this day for thy good. not for thy victory, not for thy defeat, not for the best things, but for thy good. And it's certainly not for the worst of things. And remember, God's statutes are those things that are not written in the Ten Commandments. You still have to believe. You still have to obey. You still have to apply to your life. Over 500, you know what, if somebody asked me how much stuff consumers spend, how much money they spend on stuff in a year, I would have said this number, $500 billion. That's what I would have thought. But $500 billion is what the advertising agencies spend every year to convince you that you're not satisfied with what you have or who you have. It's amazing. And it's, how many of y'all have chickens?
Have what?
Chickens. I got chickens. And it's funny because I'll go out there to feed the chickens. Beverly will say not much, but every once in a while. And I'll get a pan of them little protein pellets, and I'll toss them out here to this side, the right side of the gate, and every one of them will run over there and I'll be pecking. And I do that to get them out of my way. Then I'm free to grab another pail, and I'll take it out there and I'll throw it over the left side. Immediately, boom, a bunch of them go over there and start pecking. Others got their nose down and they're just pecking away, they don't pay attention. But there's some, and it's hilarious, y'all. And you know somebody got chickens? Go watch to see if this don't happen. They're pecking and they're looking. And they're like people. They get all anxious. There is something better over there. I know it. I know it. And then you can see their feet move over a little bit of a time. And they'll peck 1, 2, 3, and go over there. And get what's over there. And they get there, and they find out that it's not as special as they thought it was. There was a guy named Naboth. How many of y'all remember Naboth? He had a vineyard. And King Ahab wanted his vineyard. His vineyard was right next to King Ahab's castle. All right? And in 1 Kings 21:2 it says, And Ahab spoke unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near to my house, and I will give thee a better vineyard for it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of money in it. The world is going to offer you something better than what God is going to command you to keep. Now, let me go into this real quick. I'm going to talk as quick as I can because I don't want to sleepy eyes overtaking me. But when God divided the land, he said, this tribe gets this land, this tribe gets this land, this tribe gets this land, and you weren't allowed to give your land away. You weren't allowed to sell your land. You had to give that land to whoever was next in line. And this meant that what God gave each tribe, they would always have. That way, if this tribe had a king that ruled for a while, he couldn't take the land of others. It was against the law of God. And Naboth told him, he said, look, I can't give you that land. That's against God's law. And in verse 4 it says, And Ahab came unto his house, heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken unto him. For he said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he lay down on his bed and turned away his face and would not eat bread. So he had a temper tantrum. But why? Because he wouldn't go against the commandment of God. How many of y'all have ever had people mad at you because you wouldn't change your mind or go against the word of God? You're in good company. So his wife Jezebel hires 2 guys to go out and falsely accuse him of sedition against God and the government. Does that sound familiar? Is that what they did against Jesus? He blasphemed God and blasphemed Caesar. He's against God and government. We need to crucify him. So they killed him. And Elijah got his stuff. And Elijah comes by one day, and Ahab knew Elijah didn't have anything good to say about him. And he says, "What?" And I'm paraphrasing. What do you want? What do you want from me? Elijah said, God says he's going to bring disaster upon you for what you and your wife did and what you allowed. Like Pilate, you ain't going to wash their hands. You had a part in it. Either you ask forgiveness and humble yourself and accept Christ, or you're going to go to hell. But I'm going to bring disaster upon you. And in the next chapter, in verse 27, it says, And it came to pass when Ahab heard those words, he rent his clothes, put on sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. In other words, all the strength left him. He didn't know what he was going to do. He was miserable. Keep in mind, the beginning of this chapter is, I'm not going to be happy unless I have this vineyard. Now he's got it. Is he happy? I don't think so. When you get something that you covet sinfully, God's not going to bless it. And I can think of many times where I worked out, I knew it wasn't something God wanted me to have. I could see the direction that God was taking me was away from it, and I went after it anyways, and when I got it, I was miserable. It didn't shine as much in my hand as it did the other person's hand. And I certainly didn't love it as much as they did. It just wasn't what I expected. That happens a lot in adultery. The world can't understand how a Christian can be so happy with so little. If you're here today and you're not happy, you need more God, not more stuff. I mean, that's plain and simple. Exodus 20:17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. What is that? The 10th commandment. Do you ever wonder why the first commandment was first, the fourth was fourth, the seventh was seventh, and the 10th was 10th? Ask the questions and seek the answers. You'll be amazed at some of the things that were done the way they were done. You could say, this was of God. But this particular commandment is the 10th commandment, the last commandment. And I believe the reason why is because it points back to all the source of sin. If you didn't covet something, you wouldn't steal it, would you? If you didn't covet the wife, you wouldn't commit adultery, would you? If you didn't covet the things of others, you wouldn't worship false idols. So the 10th commandment is like a summary of all sin, saying, you know what? And besides all this, don't covet. How many sins would be committed if the world and everyone in it stopped coveting today? Just follow that one commandment. How many sins would be committed? Not many. You wouldn't have kids killing kids for their tennis shoes. You wouldn't have a lot of things happening if everyone just did that one thing. People are in church today who covet, don't feel like they have enough. They want more. You know, Jesus talked about those who prayed long prayers and then took widows' homes. They were religious and they were covetous. It's not good. 1 Corinthians 12:31. But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. You know what? Go after what's good. Isn't this what God's saying? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Go after what's good. I want you to covet that, and I will give you true happiness. I'm getting close to the end now, so y'all bear with me. I want you to pay attention to this one very closely. And remember the 500 billion. Luke chapter 5, verse 11. And when they had brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. How can you market a gospel like that in today's world of advertisement, merchandise? I don't have enough and I need more. Where we're willing to give all for Christ. How could you market something like that and make it work? And we wonder why there's not many people in the pews today. You know, preachers have been preaching against TV for a long time. I got one. I watch it. I watch a lot of good shows on there. I watch a lot of sports, a lot of Tennessee football, a lot of Tennessee softball. But if you think about it, the way the world has been conditioned through commercials to be unhappy with everything that they have and need more, and who they have and need someone else, you can explain why a lot of pews and churches are empty today. How many of y'all remember a man by the name of Naaman? Don't worry, I'm on my last page. You can say yes. I ain't going to go any further. Naaman was a man that had leprosy, and Elijah went to him, and God healed him through the obedience of Elijah. And Naaman was so happy. He loaded up horses and camels and things, and with all these precious gifts, gold and silver and fine linens and all this. And he went to go see Elijah to pay him. And, you know, it goes to show, though, that when people are saved by God, they become more generous, don't they? You know, certain things don't have the luster that they used to have. And he goes to Elijah, he says, Elijah, I've got all these wonderful gifts. And Gehazi, who was Elijah's protege, as you would call him, was looking at these things, and I'm paraphrasing, he's like, man, this is awesome. We can build a bigger house. We'll have servants. We'll never have to work again. We can build a huge temple with all this stuff. And Elijah said, no, he said, I don't want your things. How many preachers today would turn away somebody like that? How many preachers today, if somebody come up and they preached, and they come up to the altar and they got saved, and then the next day they had a check for $10,000 in the mail, and they said, this is because you led me to Christ. Would they void the check and send it back? But Elijah wanted people to know one very important things. The gifts of God are free, that they can't be bought. And why was that so important? Because there was a lot more poor people that couldn't afford to buy God's gifts. They had to know. I mean, when people found out that he could have had millions of dollars, and that's what a lot of people think, that there was millions of dollars worth of merchandise in today's money, that he turned it away, hey, then that means that I, who have nothing, can go to God and receive a gift. Amen. So it was important. But now, Gaza, that's how I pronounce it, he decided, I'm going to get some of that stuff. So he runs a long way around, and he finally found his name. He says, hey, man, he said, we got some prophets, I'm going to paraphrase, we got some prophets come in, they don't have much, we want to give a little something, and I was hoping, and we were all hoping that you'd give a little bit. He said, sure, take all you want, take all you want. So he took it, and he's walking back, and he hides the stuff, and he goes up to Elijah, and Elijah basically says, and I'll put it in today's terms, so how about that red Camaro, and that big dually truck, and that camper? How about all these things? And what he was doing basically is he was telling his servant, I seen what you did. And I know what you were thinking on your way back, how you thought you were going to spend all this money. You know, one thing that Elijah didn't do, he didn't take it away from him, give it back. But he got the leprosy that was supposed to be upon Naaman, and he immediately turned white. Now let me ask you a question. Was he happy with the things that he received? I don't think so. And I don't think once he gave them back that he could have changed the situation. Let's say, how many of y'all get mad when you stub a toe like me? This infuriates me. And if my toe's bare and I'm really knocking on something sharp, takes everything I can not to cuss. Because I come from a long line of cussers, and I cuss for years and years and years before I turn my life over to God. What if you got $100 every time you stub your toe? What if God come to you and said, every time you stub your toe, I'm going to give you $100. Every time you hit your hand with a hammer, your finger with a hammer, I'm going to give you $500. What if every time something happened, I'm going to give you a certain amount of, you wouldn't get mad, would you? You'd walk around and go, $100. Thank you, God. You'd be roofing a house and then hammer, ooh, that's $500. Ooh, thank you, Lord. Well, we don't profit from none of things. We don't. But we don't profit from anger either, do we? You know, we can profit from praising God even during the bad times. I said it, I'm going to try harder. Judas sold Christ. He got what he wanted. Was he happy? So ask yourself today, are you happy? Bill here, he's happy. I'm here preaching, his favorite. We call each other in the morning, talk about what we're going to wear. We get all excited. Okay, I'm only joking. Happiness comes from not compromising. Happiness comes from the truth of God. Remembering that when we're in a difficult situation that we have an armor. Start thinking about that armor. Start thinking about what armor suits you best. You know what? You might be in here, and righteousness might be the thing that you're able to count on more. My particular armor is the truth. Because I know most of the time, when I'm in a hard situation, I got myself in it. Satan might have pulled my cord, but I'll run until I get out of gas. Until I finally think, you know what, the really truth of the situation is not that bad. God can handle it. So, are you happy today? And will you be happy with the gifts of God or the things that we covet from the world? Our gracious Heavenly Father, I thank and praise you for this time together, for all the many blessings that you give us, and God, for the things that you hold from us, the things that you take from us, the things that, God, not just that you give us and bless us with, but God, the things that we want so much that we don't get, that turn out to be blessings when we don't get them. And I ask, God, that you'll bless those, if there's anyone here that you spoke to, and God, that they need to speak to you, that they would come forward and show openly that they trust and believe in you. And God, I want you to know that I thank and praise you for this message. This is something I know that you've given me because I needed it so much myself. And I include myself in those because I prayed so much over this message because it was so much about me also. And I ask your blessing upon those that are here. Give them safe travels home, God, and you'll bless us and bring us back again. In Jesus' name, amen.
79. on our hearts. Ask you to be with us this week, Lord, watch over us, lead, guide, and direct us, but most of all, I pray that you give us our sins, give us what we need. I just want to ask this in Christ.
Amen.